Why are we losing to China? I'm going to explain. Again, so many stories, things happening. Chinese spy balloon. We've also got this new act in Congress. Should we get rid of TikTok and censorship? And we're going to break it all down, including industrial policy. It's my contention the reality of the situation is we're losing to China because we are becoming China. What are you talking about, Markowski? Okay. Again, Chinese balloon story. I know. They have balloons flying across, collecting all of this information. Yeah. Okay. We talked about that. We do the same thing. No big surprise there. A lot of people are up in arms and, oh my God, this is terrible. Look what they're doing. Again, we do the same thing. And again, I don't mind us doing the same thing. We're supposed to do this. That's what nations do. They spy on one another. Take that whole thing and put it aside. We are becoming more and more like China. There was a really great piece in the Wall Street Journal today by Philip Hamburger, who he teaches at Columbia Law School and is the CEO of the New Civil Liberties Alliance. And he makes the argument, like we've made the argument, that sure, TikTok can corrupt our youth here in this country. And sure. They collect data for the Chinese government. But this act, this restrict thing here, they're restricting the emergence of security threats that Risk Information and Communications Technology Act restrict. What it's going to do, it's going to give an incredible amount of power over communication here in this country. Basically, the bill applies to a myriad of transactions, including the use of information and communications technology product or service in which an entity subject to a foreign adversary's judicial jurisdiction has an interest. Now, let's be honest here. Most technology companies, they are partially subject to Chinese jurisdiction. So under the statute, the Commerce Secretary of the United States could take any mitigation measure to address any risk. This is arising from the use of the relevant communications products or services. Now, if the Commerce Secretary determines there is undue or unacceptable risk to the national security of the United States or the safety of United States persons, yep, we're going to go after you. We happen to live in a day and age, I don't know if you're aware of this, where if you say something that somebody else doesn't like or might be disrupting, well, guess what? That could be called violence. For some reason, several months ago, again, I post a lot of what we do up on my Facebook fan page, which goes up onto Twitter and trying to get information out. They supposedly flagged something that I said that never told me what it was. Told me I was at risk of losing my page. Okay, it's obviously the government telling Facebook, look out for this. And I, for whatever reason it may be, people send me messages via Facebook, and for whatever reason, I can't respond to them. I type stuff in and it never goes out. Who knows? And who knows how their algorithms work and how they pick and choose. The Federal Bureau of Investigation recently classified, remember, we talked about this, concerned parents and conservative Catholics as violent extremists. And I don't know what that means. I'm Catholic and I'm a libertarian conservative guy. I guess I might be considered an extremist. I don't know. So when this restrict bill authorizes the Commerce Secretary to mitigate communications risks to national security, that means that the Commerce Secretary can demand censorship. Since 2016, the federal government has orchestrated the most massive system of censorship in the nation's history. It uses regulatory threats to pressure tech companies into censoring disfavored cultural, political, and scientific speech. Again, whether it be on possible election fraud, COVID-19 example, you would get thrown in Facebook jail for saying the truth and facts. It went against the narrative at the time, and you would be ostracized. You'd be deplatformed. That this is who we want to leave in charge. We want this government to be in charge of this. Not to mention, you take a look at the penalties here. After the Commerce Secretary imposes mitigation requiring a communications company to suppress what they consider a risky use of services. If you can't try to procure the restoration of the censored material, and if you do so, $250,000 fine, criminal penalty of $1 million, and 20 years in prison. Again, this is creepy stuff. And again, she sounds to me eerily similar to something that China might do. Now again, in Mr. Hamburger's piece today, he says you might suppose that this is unconstitutional. So there will be a remedy in the courts. But the bill anticipates that. It permits, again, this is we call ourselves the United States, and you got country songs that might lead into Hannity's program talking about how star-spangled frickin' awesome we are. Oh, yeah? Yeah, freedom, huh? Oh, yeah, freedom of speech. No judicial review of any action by the Commerce Secretary or the President under the proposed statute, except by petition up to 60 days after the action. Individuals censored under a mitigation order or agreement probably wouldn't learn about any such federal action until long after this deadline, so the government would nearly be invulnerable to constitutional challenge. Basically, this bill is, allows for domestic suppression. Real simple. Yeah, if you want to stop TikTok, why don't you just ban apps that send data to China? Real simple. Yeah, you don't need thousands of pages of BS and censorship crap. You can't send data to China and follow up on it. Again, like I said, this is why we're losing to China, because we are becoming very much like China. Now, let's go over this in a different way. Let's just take a look at how business is done here in the United States. We're not that much different. We're not that much different than China. China has its policies and its goals, and it lays it out. And people, are we not becoming a nation that is basically, rather than utilizing the free market, we are coming up with an industrial policy? Is not what the CHIPS Act was? Industrial. We got to move all these. We got to give money to these multi-billion-dollar corporations to move these chip factories back. We need to subsidize car manufacturers so people will buy these cars. Business is run through Washington, D.C. Wall Street's not the center of business. Let's be honest here. New York is not New York. Wall Street is not what it used to be. For crying out loud, the bloody New York Stock Exchange is a soundstage. It's not real. You want to do business, you better be going to Washington, D.C. You better get regulations and the right politicians lined up. You better be paying for lobbyists, and if you do so, hey, you're going to be fine. But if you think that this is how we pat ourselves on the back, talking about the type of economy that we were able to create here in the United States and the type of prosperity that we were able to create here in the United States, it most certainly wasn't having industrial policy. You get the government out of the way, and that's where we're going to succeed. Now, this gets to our point at why you say we're competing with China. Why not be an alternative? Why not be an alternative to China? Rather than trying to compete with China, we are becoming just like them. To me, that's not a recipe for success. Anyway, I have to put this out before we go today. I'm just letting everybody know. If you want to contact me, okay, don't do it via social media. Don't do it by messenger on that. Go to our website at watchdogonwallstreet.com. Send me an email, directly call my office. We're running into all sorts of problems with messenger and social media and trying to respond to people's messages. So do it that way. Yesterday I found myself responding to a whole bunch of messages, writing things out, send, never went out, disappeared. Who knows why? Anyway, WatchDog on WallStreet.com, WatchDog on WallStreet.com. Have a wonderful day.